Okay, I'm here with Arca Ray from Sidelines. Hey, Arca, how are things out in California today?
Things are wonderful. The weather is brilliant. The Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. I'm a huge Seahawks fan, so yeah, life is good.
Oh, that's great. It's 20 degrees here in Minnesota, so I'm jealous. So we're going to talk about Sidelines, a little bit about your background, a little bit how it got
Mhm.
started, and then why this value proposition is so exciting for brands today. Before we go into that, though, tell me how about your background, how you got involved with Sidelines, and a little bit about how this company got started.
Absolutely. So my background is in computer science. I'm a computer scientist. Got my degree from University of California, Berkeley. I got recruited by Microsoft right out of college, and I was part of the Xbox team for about 5 years, where I started off by helping video game developers integrate Xbox Live into their games, and then moved over to doing business development, managing content and portfolio for Xbox Live, the Kinect, Microsoft PC gaming marketplace, etc. And then in 2012, I decided to step away from Microsoft to start Sideline. So that's sort of a little bit about my background.
What kind of sparked the idea for Sidelines? I mean, what was the genesis of what made you come up with this?
Bonnie, so it's been a bit of an evolutionary process. When we started Sidelines about 2 years ago, our goal was to create this platform for smart, uh, intelligent, opinionated people to share their views with each other and promote active but intelligent debate. Um, the internet right now is mature enough that we know that only about 10% of people who consume content actually have something interesting to say about it. And we wanted to create sort of this walled garden, this safe place for that 10%, free of trolls, free of trash talk. And once we did that, we found that not only was the community really great and really active, but the content that they were creating was also very valuable and engaging. So we decided to take the next step and actually distribute this content over a network of popular blogs, popular sites, popular apps. And that worked. We found that we were reaching between 10 to 15 million readers a month, and the average reader was spending well over a minute reading these discussions. So the natural next step was for us to sort of evolve into a community-powered marketing platform, which essentially uses these discussions to promote messages from brands.
Okay, and a lot of people talk about native advertising, but this isn't really native advertising, is it? I mean, explain the difference between your marketing platform and how most traditional native advertising platforms work today, like an Outbrain or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Native advertising today really means ads disguised as content. In your social media feed, on the articles that you're reading, you have ads that are sort of hidden as content, and they are enticing you to consume that content through catchy headlines and so on. But that content does not inherently have any value beyond just being a fluff piece for a brand or an advertiser. Whereas at Sidelines, our core tenet is around authenticity. All of our content is authentic. Our community is a community of what we call expert fans. These are not professional writers. These are everyday experts. The fantasy football guru who just happens to be an accountant, a mom who homeschools her two kids. She's
Hmm.
not an educational expert, but she sure knows a lot about parenting. So those are our contributors, and they very naturally participate in these conversations and discussions with each other. And brands just happen to be able to sponsor these discussions if the topics of these discussions tie in with their brand message. And on top of that, these discussions are actually being placed on existing blogs and sites where the reader is naturally consuming them. Therefore, our form of native advertising is much more authentic and hence much more effective because the consumer, the customer actually trusts the opinions coming from our contributors a lot more than they came from the brand or a professional writer.
And from what I understand, the publishers are identifying a quite quite a bit more engagement and that time on site is improving. Can you talk a little bit about why you see that happening for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. As I said, our distribution channels are through existing publishers, through existing digital publishers, and our content is inherently valuable to the publishers because of how engaging it is. Because these conversations come from smart people, because they are authentic, the reader is naturally drawn towards them, no matter where we place these discussions. And as a result, the reader ends up spending a lot more time on the site. The time on site on average about doubles if a publisher starts using Sidelines. Essentially what they're doing is getting free content, which is increasing their engagement, increasing their time on site and page views, and we do a rev share with them so it acts as an additional revenue stream for the publishers. So really it's a slam dunk value proposition.
Okay. So walk me through, say a brand is really interested and excited about working with Sidelines and getting going. Walk me through the steps that you would need to take with them to get them into the platform, to get them selecting the discussions that work for them. How does that really work? How do you target that?
Uh, so the first step is for us to sit down with the brand and identify what their key marketing messages are. Once we do that, our editorial team does two things. One is they go in and they identify existing discussions that are already part of the Sidelines platform that align with that marketing message. Our editors also pump in new topics that are aligned with the marketing message into the platform. Contributors very naturally are drawn to those topics and they start participating in those discussions. So that's how the content gets generated. Now, at no point of time do we influence our contributors, do we ask them to fluff the brand. We just suggest topics that are of interest to a brand. So,
Okay.
and essentially, once those discussions are generated, the brand gives us the green light to start distributing, and then we start placing those discussions on relevant outlets.
Okay, so it's obvious to see what the benefits to the brand are, but you have contributors who could be writing about these topics in a million different places. What are the advantages for the contributors? And I understand that the members and the contributors are growing rapidly. What do they get out of it, and why are you adding so many so quickly?
A lot of our contributors are folks who have tried running their own blogs, have tried writing for various different sites. And what they find when they join Sidelines is that we offer them a lot more exposure. So first of all, as soon as they write, say, 100 words on Sidelines, it immediately gets in front of anywhere between 10 to 15 million people. In fact, our reach has grown to over 20 million over the past month. So that kind of exposure is very hard to find for these people who want their voices and opinions heard. Second is social validation. The fact that they are not writing 1,500 to 2,000 words in a silo, but rather contributing 100 to 200 words, and those opinions are actually getting validated and respected by their intellectual peers, that social validation is huge. We
Okay.
have a reputation algorithm which actually helps identify the best contributors and surface them to the top, and that's a very strong draw. And finally, we also have career opportunities. All of our editors, all of our full-time employees were former contributors who have risen through the ranks to essentially get into a position where they are getting directly compensated for their work. A lot of our contributors have also gone on after taking Sidelines as their first step to write professionally for Fox, Bleacher Report.
Oh, that's great. Okay, back to a little bit more about the company. You were part of a pretty prestigious program with Disney this fall. How did you get involved with Disney, and what have been the benefits for you? What's been that been like for you to be associated with them?
That's an interesting story, really. A long time ago, when we were just starting Sidelines, I had the opportunity to meet the VP of Innovation at Disney, and I had casually pitched the idea for Sidelines to him for feedback. And about 2.5 years later, when Disney decided to do this accelerator program where they were selecting 10 startups out of thousands and thousands of applications, David, the VP, he reached out to me and he said that Sidelines might be an interesting fit for this particular program. We applied. I didn't really have very high hopes just because the
Uh-huh.
program was so competitive, but it was a really nice surprise when we were accepted.
And what was, can you describe the program? I mean, what did they do for you and how did that work? It was kind of a boot camp, a marketing boot camp more or less, or something like that, right?
I wouldn't call it a marketing boot camp exactly. It was more of a mentoring program, really,
Okay.
where they took startups which were at various stages in their life cycle, from startups which were pre-product and just had a prototype, all the way to startups which were essentially, you know, generating 20 to 30 million dollars in revenue. And they put us all in the same place, in the same building, and did two things. One is they brought in mentors from all across Disney. The first day there, we got to meet Disney's CEO Bob Iger. We spent 30 minutes with each of the companies,
Wow.
and also, yeah, that was really amazing. It was really amazing experience. And they brought in people not only from all across Disney's, various different divisions, LucasArts, Marvel, Disney Interactive, Consumer Products, Disney Animation, but they also brought in a lot of experienced entrepreneurs as well as investors. So we got a lot of mentorship, which has really helped us not only refine our business model, but also find new ways to grow the company. And in addition to that, they also gave us really amazing access to various business units within Disney. And as a result, we were able to form partnerships and get deals from various different parts of Disney. So it was really a combination of business development and mentorship that made the program so unique and worthwhile.
That's great. To wrap up, why don't you tell me a bit about what's going on in 2015 for Sidelines? Any big brands that you're going to be joining up with? What do you really see for the company in the year ahead?
2015 is going to be a very exciting year. We have about 8 really major brands in the pipeline right now. I can announce that we are currently running a campaign for Star Wars, and we're very excited about that. And we have properties that are equally big in the pipeline. So just bringing more value to brands, bringing more brands and advertisers to the platform is a top priority. We are just about finalizing a hire for a VP of Business Development. That's going to be a very key position for us. In addition, we also need to keep growing our publisher network, and we are willing and open to working with publishers of all sizes. We really want every digital publisher out there to take advantage of our platform and the value proposition we offer. So that's going to be another big push to go from the 20 million uniques that we're reaching right now to the next milestone, which is going to be about 50 million. And we are constantly adding new contributors to our community. We recently started a gaming community, a parenting community that's doing really well. We also are going to double down on entertainment sports, which already have been doing really well, and possibly expand to some other interesting verticals such as technology.
Well, that's great. Thanks so much for your time today, and good luck to you and your team in 2015.
Thank you so much, Bonnie, for your time. I really appreciate it.